and we got to see a glimpse into what Cleveland is really all about. There's a lot more than just the segregated tech culture that we've been living in, and there's a lot of people making change standing in this room. So it's definitely worth talking to those people and seeing what's really happening here in the city.
Just look at this amazing view. To anybody that is not from Cleveland or not from Ohio, welcome. We're so excited you're here. We are building a strong, diverse pipeline. Cleveland and Ohio in general has some of the strongest and most diverse talent in the state.
Art is in technology. So with this as an arts collaborative, technology is a beautiful tie-in. We don't usually talk about money too much, but today we're talking about money a little bit. There's a lot of people who are artists and entrepreneurs as a content creators in some right aren't pursuing VC. There's other things that we need to do, which we could probably talk to the guys about this a little bit. But there is a real chicken and egg problem for a lot of people that in order to get your ideas made, you need to have money. And sometimes in order to make your ideas move and build faster, you have to have some support. So I want to introduce you guys to a little bit of the ecosystem here for venture capital. Hardik Desai from Jumpstart Ventures, Liz Todia from Mutual Capital Partners, and Daniel Luketic from North Coast Ventures. All right. Does all of that introduction make sense to you guys? Oh, you guys don't have to pay attention. This is going to be the most interesting conversation in the room as far as I'm concerned, but if there's somebody like really beautiful that you're talking to, please don't let us interrupt you. Go for it. I'm going to start and just ask you guys to do a brief introduction for yourselves. Anything that you'd like to share about the firms that you work with. Anyway, we'll start with Daniel.
Well, hello, everyone. My name's Daniel Luketic. I work at North Coast Ventures. I've been there for about 8 years now. My partner, Todd Fetterman, more people know. He's a local legend. He's been doing this for the last 17 years. But North Coast Ventures, we have about 450 investors in our fund that are all participating in this activity right along with us of investing in early stage software companies. Makes us the largest fund of our kind in the nation as far as having a concentrated group of investors that are participating in a fund like ours. Those 450 people all live within 2 hours of Cleveland, Ohio. And so we really focus on investing in B2B software as a service companies that are mostly focused on industries that membership know. Industries like insurance, manufacturing, industrial, as well as healthcare and life sciences. So that's North Coast. That's me. Yep.
Cool. Liz, what type of stuff are you up to?
Yeah, so good evening, everybody. My name is Liz Todia. I work with Mutual Capital Partners. We're a venture fund here in town that does all healthcare investing. So we do both medical devices as well as healthcare IT investing, a little bit later stage, typically revenue generating, very oftentimes after these gentlemen next to me have helped with the seed funding for those companies.
So healthcare?
Yes, all healthcare.
All healthcare. Hardik, how about you?
Good evening, everyone. Great to be here. My name is Hardik Desai. I am with Jumpstart Ventures. Great to see some familiar faces and lots of new faces here. Jumpstart Ventures is the investing arm of Jumpstart Inc. We are a 20-year-old organization that invests in early-stage technology startups throughout the state of Ohio. So we write first checks of $250,000 to $1.5 million in software, healthcare, and advanced manufacturing startups. We have invested in 170 companies since inception. We currently have about 100 companies that are active from that portfolio.
See, you're healthcare and software.
And advanced manufacturing.
And advanced manufacturing. Okay, so manufacturing is all you. Software is all you, but also sometimes Hardik. You guys don't have to partner up sometimes. Is that right? Have you guys ever partnered on a deal before?
All the time.
All the time?
Yeah.
What's, you want to talk about a good example of a partnership? You guys have both said these are things that are worth going in on?
I can go first, and I'm sure Daniel has lots of examples. So does Liz. So maybe one of the most recent examples is a company called Actual, spelled as AXUALL. Jumpstart Ventures led their seed round in 2019, along with North Coast Ventures and several other local investors. The company recently raised $28 million in Series B funding. So that's one example. I think between Jumpstart and North Coast, we probably have 40 companies, maybe more, that we have invested with together. We probably have 10 companies with mutual capital partners.
The region's very collaborative, right? And so that's pretty unique to the Midwest in general, but especially in Ohio. So with Jumpstart in particular, we have calls just about every month to talk about our shared portfolio companies, how we could be helping them from the positions that we sit in and other deals that we might want to do together in the future. And that's really valuable. I think entrepreneurs get better support when there is collaboration from the investors, and we prefer that. Liz and I were just out at an event in Chicago, and during one of the happy hours, the conversation went to just how brutal and cutthroat the environment is in some of these other regions. That's not Ohio, and I prefer it here.
Yeah, that's like an advantage of being a little bit smaller, that like comparatively to other markets.
For better or worse, none of us are big enough to do this without each other. We don't have enough capital to be the first, middle, last check of a company as they grow. But I really do agree. I think it's for the best. We won't invest in a company that doesn't have other VCs around the table because it keeps everyone honest. You have better networks, experience, advice, and more checkbooks for if things were to ever get tough.
So somebody has to go first in order. So you're like, we're on if they're on, but if they're not on, we're not on.
Not necessarily. We'll bring in partners alongside of us. We just won't be solo, single-threaded in a deal.
I feel there's some questions about stand-up comedy. I talked before with people about stand-up comedy, and they're like, what's up with the stand-up comedy scene? Why isn't there more comedy? And they'll point to one, like, open mic circuit, and they're like, that's doing great. Why can't this specific thing be bigger? And this isn't really so much of a comment. This is more of a comment, and we'll get into a question about it. When you want there to be something, so there's clearly a problem for entrepreneurs that need to get funding, and if you can't find the funding for it, you're dead. Like, it's just gonna have to stop. But there's something about a scene. So within comedy, I'm like, if there's one comedy circuit, cool. If there's two, that's like better. 3, okay. It isn't until you have 5 different circuits that you have a scene. And when you have a scene, then a ton of magic starts to happen. And like, I guess I'm sort of setting you up for what I want you to say, is that, is there going to be more VCs popping up with the success that you guys are having right now? Do you think that this community and this scene is growing? Can you probably like point to people in the room that are like, yeah, they're raising a fund?
Yeah, I would definitely say it has been growing and will continue. So I started 6 years ago with MCP and have seen, I can't even count how many venture funds spring up across Ohio and the general Midwest. I help lead a group called Venture Next, which is a collaborative peer group, entirely VCs focused on the Midwest. And we now have over 200 funds as part of that group, over 300 members, 30-something states represented, which started with just a couple of funds in Ohio, maybe 10 of us or so, who started getting together back in 2017. So we've watched the growth happen real time and very excited, at least I feel it's continuing to grow.
Yeah, I think we can all benefit. I agree with everything that Liz said. At the same time, having more funds that are headquartered in Cleveland, I think we would all love to have that. We'd all love to have more funds who may invest anywhere in the region or anywhere in the Midwest, but creating that presence of a handful of new funds being formed in Cleveland and in Ohio, I think would be a great thing. There isn't competition right now. This is all co-opetition. We are all working together. And the more people we have, the quicker we can help a company raise a funding round, the quicker they can focus on executing on their business and worry less about how to close it out.
Yeah, I would say one of the strengths of just this Cleveland region extends throughout all of Ohio as well. So we work very closely with the groups in Cincinnati and Columbus as well. So sometimes we're able to make up for not having a heavier concentration in Cleveland by collaborating so closely throughout the state as well. But I'd say we really do have a moment, it feels like, for a couple reasons. One, coming out of COVID, I think there were some challenges that companies were facing, and the companies that were managed with more Midwestern values and were cautious about how they spent their cash and were able to stay alive when it was very much a moment when you needed to stay alive. I think those Midwestern values are a little bit more in vogue, and so I think there's more interest in groups outside the region looking at Midwestern deals or putting capital into Midwestern-based funds because they have those kind of principles around how they invest and how they manage their companies. I'd also just say, as a challenge, though, we still have such opportunity because we have so many gems of companies and organizations where there really should be a lot more, it feels like, us leveraging the great institutions that we have here in Cleveland to be able to be super strategic about how we are investing in companies that we know really well and can help really well in this region.
Well, that's really good. You got a comment?
Yeah, just one more point I might add is, as much as it's beneficial to all of us to have more funds, the maturity of an ecosystem is also how many funds from outside the region are investing in more mature, growth-oriented companies in the region. So having an Ohio, Cleveland-based company raise $20 million from a lead investor in Atlanta or Boston is actually great. We should be celebrating that versus thinking about why didn't they raise $20 million locally.
Yeah, funding from outside of the region, from anywhere, is like the cream rises to the top, as they say it, right? So we have really, really talented people. These great ideas that are going to be the next big thing, and they're in competition with people with ideas that are in similar spaces all over the world. Like this isn't like this is big. We're playing in a big game here. So like getting those things from outside, I think that we're in a different place right now where it's that perpetual chicken egg problem. Like you're not going to get things that are mature enough to have investment without some investment. So I think this is a problem that you guys might have, is that young entrepreneurs that don't know how, they're like, we need to get funding for this thing, even if it's seed funding. When they go looking for capital, the VC and the banking sort of infrastructure that might fund a more progressed, something that's not such a risky bet, they're going to find you. The individual investors, the angels, and all of the stuff like this. How do you guys go through because people are going to come to you and then go, I'm not there yet, what do I do? There's got to be like an uptick of this space, right? Of people just going, what do I do? Because I know I'm not ready for funding yet. Like, what do I do? I'm not ready for like funding from you, but this is actually one of my favorite interests. Things that you can't Google. This is information that exists in the room and exists among all of you. Is like, where can I go? But like, it's not something that you're going to be able to, once you can Google it, there's, then it's going to keep on coming. And the individual investors don't want that. So what do you do? What do you do with all these people that are coming for ideas?
Well, in our case, we're a bit unique because we have so many people to help those entrepreneurs within our group. So we specifically tried to construct a very large membership, these 450 people, which many are exited founders themselves or recently retired from an industry, aren't going to sit on their hands, want to help someone else start a business or solve a problem where there's a real need. And so we see it as part of our mission to really activate those people around these entrepreneurs, whether they're investments we're going to make and they're now in our portfolio, we're providing a lot of love and attention and connections. Or early on, we say, we want to look at deals, nothing's too early. You've got a sharp entrepreneur who seems to be focused on solving a compelling problem and everything makes sense. Connect us early, because oftentimes we can peel off a member of our group or two and say, we might not be able to, it might not hit our thesis and we have to be disciplined investors and focused on what we do well, but we can always peel off a great advisor to be able to help you get there. Because those early advisors that get the problem, those are your great early angels, oftentimes, right? The first check writers, because they understand it more deeply than anyone else. So a $25,000, $50,000 investment to kind of get you progressing along can be really helpful and oftentimes what they need. The other advice that we give is if you're a single founder and you think you have an idea, instead of going out there and trying to sell someone and writing you a check, go out and find that co-founder, sell that person on the idea of spending their time. Because we're so focused on B2B software as a service with our fund, and I know this is not the case with every type of innovation, but if you can find a CTO that is willing to sweat right alongside you, you can build something, and you can be in market with that platform. So that's some of the advice we give early on, but we definitely need more incubators, accelerators, early check writers to kind of get...
More incubators. How do we get more incubators?
Yeah, maybe just to build on Daniel a little bit before I answer that, one of the unique assets in Ohio is through the Ohio Third Frontier program, through which there are organizations throughout the state. So in Northeast Ohio, there are a dozen organizations like Jumpstart Inc., the nonprofit side of Jumpstart, GREYT Energy Innovators. These organizations are providing pro bono advice and services to get a founder to be ready for fundraising. It's one thing to find capital. You need to have a story, you need to have a plan, you need to go through your customer discovery process, and there are organizations in the state and in Northeast Ohio who can help you refine that story, connect you with entrepreneurs and residents who have been in your shoes before. And incubators, part of that group is incubators, whether that's Pride, whether that's Youngstown Business Incubator, Magnet, which is a manufacturing incubator, Lorain County Community College has an incubator. So there are a handful of incubators. One of our challenges is they're all very spread out. So we need more density versus more incubators.
Okay. That's a nice counterpoint, more density instead of more incubators. We're just trying to get all of the ideas moving and stuff. Money is not going to come unless there is ideas and working businesses. And nobody's interested in invest and just throwing money away, or we're not going to get it there. But we'll just put more money into. No, but you guys all, do you want to take a jump at this? So I had a feeling you are like, you guys have very specific, what is the word? Thesis? Investment thesis. You guys have very specific investment thesis. So you guys share two. So together, there's only 3 different investment theses. There's probably, I don't know, within venture capital, 15, 20 different areas that have a bulk of the investment nationwide or worldwide. So we've got a pretty narrow space right now. Do you think that it makes sense for, if there is any new players in venture capital, to be within different thesis space to build other things? Or are those things your theses because of the concentration of healthcare and software, the tools that we have from our universities, that we're not really ready for something else?
I can take a stab at this one since we're the most concentrated and specific in our thesis. So we were not a healthcare-only fund for very many years. This is a relatively new development in the last 3 years or so. We pivoted into only healthcare. And for us and our team, it was because it's what we do best. We know the market, we know the customers, We have tons of LPs and network around us to help us do diligence or recruit key talent. We really just knew it so much better than anything else that we can be significantly more value add. On the flip side of that, we're certainly missing opportunities that aren't healthcare, right? But I think for us, we said, we can't possibly boil the ocean. We can't possibly know everything about every industry. We should go with what we do have a lot of strength in, exactly to the point of here in Cleveland, with Cleveland Clinic and UH and Case Western and so many wonderful institutions. Let's leverage that. Let's put that to use to be, specific and to add value in that way versus a generalist.
Yeah, for us, while we invest in specific industries, it's a pretty broad range of companies that you will see within those industry sectors. And they're very consistent with the macro venture capital industry. So for us, and for all of us, actually, it's important what our skill sets are as investors, where we can add the most value. But we also need all of our companies to raise more money in future. And so we need to be investing in those sectors where follow-on funders, future investors are also investing. And that is software is very broad. 60% of our portfolio is software, and that's a very broad industry by itself.
So we've been investing for 17 years. We've invested in 75 companies over that time. And it's only until the last 8 years when we kind of did a similar audit of our performance and where we could be most helpful with our group that we started to focus so exclusively on B2B software as a service. But like Hardik said, there's a lot of space within that, right? So we can look at a company that's doing something innovative in the asphalt industry. We can quickly mine our membership and say, actually, we could open a lot of doors for this company. We could place some advisors. We could be very helpful and strategic in understanding what this opportunity and how we can be helpful and hopefully having them charge out of the gate and get to a really strong Series A. Because that's what every deal that we look at when we say, okay, within B2B SaaS, a lot of room for us to play. The question we need to ask ourselves is, why North Coast? Why would we be in this deal? How can we help? Can we give them some unfair advantage? And oftentimes for us, that unfair advantage is warm introductions, helping them get to that next stage where those early sales that they're trying to make, we've warmed it up a bit, made it a little easier for
them. I wanted this talk to be sort of like the state of Cleveland VC, and I don't know, this is probably some information that you could Google, but since we're here, is the volume of deals in Cleveland in 2023, what does that look like versus from 2013 and 2018?
I would say the overall market sort of took a pause the first half of this year. We saw a lot of companies wait to raise because of the economic uncertainty. And so certainly not a lack of startups. They were still there, operating, growing, making progress. They just weren't going to look for capital because they knew it wasn't the most opportune time. So I don't know how you quantify that in terms of, we love to look at that high level. Deals are increasing every year, dollars are increasing every year, but that may or may not be in the best interest of those startups. So we've seen a little less, but in every single market, not Cleveland specific. It has picked back up though, I'd say. Literally in the last 3-4 weeks, I've been inundated with deals. So I think we're seeing a turn and excited to see what happens the rest of this year.
So I've been at Jumpstart for 12 years, almost 12 years. When I first joined Jumpstart, we were investing roughly $3 million per year. That was 2012. In 2017, we were investing roughly $5 million per year. And in 2022-23, we are investing roughly $15 million per year. So specifically last fiscal year for us, which ended in June, we invested in 35 startups. 20 of them were new additions to our portfolio, and 15 were follow-on investments. So we are a high-velocity investor, but because we have 100 active companies, when they raise money in future, and if it makes sense, we'll also invest again in them. So our volume generally is going to be consistent 15, 15, 15 per year.
Yeah, so I'll take a similar approach without a specific number of new deals. 2013, I think, is when you started that range. Roughly, we at that point we were investing out of one fund that was roughly $7-8 million fund. Today, we're investing out of 3 different funds simultaneously: a $10 million, $15 million, and $25 million fund, all simultaneously. So there's got to be deals, there's got to be companies to look at in order to enable that, and so we've seen a big increase.
As you guys are making, these are all bets. We try to cut the risk out as much as we can. Who here is taking the biggest bets of the 3 of you?
All of us.
Oh, that's not an answer.
Of course.
Whoever's writing the earliest checks.
That is, yeah, Liz is like, we'll go if you go. Whoever says yes first. Yeah, whoever says yes first. Well, I'm glad that you guys are taking the bet and saying yes first as often as you can and helping grow this space. There's a lot of people that want to have drinks. This is happy hour, and the sun is just about gone. That's usually the moment for us is to over the summer we oh my gosh, I just love it so much. But we've got an amazing band I want to get onto stage. I'm going to let you guys get into mingling with everybody, and if they have questions, we usually do a Q&A, but I think with it's going to be too much for it. You okay with that? You ready to wrap it up? All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Can we guys give a round of applause for our panelists here? And we're going to take just a couple minute break and then welcome on Colin Miller. Oh, the last thing, you guys are going to be around for the Ohio VC Fest? Why don't we do that? What's going on Ohio VC Fest?
I need 30 minutes to talk about it. No, just kidding. Ohio VC Fest is an event that's being organized through Jumpstart Ventures. It's our first foray into organizing and celebrating the venture investing activity throughout the state of Ohio. We are excited to see founders, investors, institutional partners, corporate community get together, mix and mingle. We expect somewhere between 800 to 1,000 one-on-one meetings across the stakeholders, and hopefully thousands of separate conversations over a coffee break or at a bar. We look forward to seeing a lot of people. We are sold out at 550 people who have registered. So yeah, looking forward to 2 exciting days.
It's just in a couple days, right? Is it Wednesday?
October 11th and 12th.
Yeah. Everybody here in town is going to be... they should just stick around through the weekends. Yeah. If you're from out of town, just have a good time. Thank you again, guys.